Hello, welcome to this episode of Online Store Success with me, your host, Jodie Minto. I've recently been asked by a number of people how to get started with their own online fashion or lifestyle business and an online store. And also, would I do it again and how would I do it differently? So I thought, you know what? I'm going to share what I would do if I was to start an online fashion or lifestyle business today in 2024 and how I would do it versus what I did last time. So I've made a bunch of notes, as you can see, for those watching the video. I got a lot of things to say about this because, boy, what a learning curve it was having my own online fashion brand for, I think it was like 8 or 9 years, right? So I've learnt a lot, and I've also coached a lot of other ladies on their journey. So I also learn from them what's working and what's not. So the very first thing that I would do differently from the very get-go was decide on what type of business model I actually wanted. Do I want a lifestyle business that is almost what you would call a laptop business? You can run it from anywhere. You have that freedom and flexibility in your days. You don't have to turn up to an office every day and manage a bunch of staff. And yes, this sort of lifestyle business might not be some type of multi 7-figure or 8-figure business in that shape. However, it gives you those things, and I know for me, that we often crave so much when we start our own business, not having to go to an office every day, not having to get dressed and put a bra on or put makeup on, right? So very much for me, I'm all about the lifestyle business, especially now I'm in my 40s, my kids have almost finished school. I'm getting really excited to, do some more travel and stuff like that. So I very much want a lifestyle business that doesn't need me stuck here feet concreted to the ground in order to keep it running. On the flip side, perhaps, you know what, maybe you're like, no way, that sounds hideous. I really dream of having an office and a big team and scaling this business to the moon and the back. Well, that's perfectly okay too, but it's a different strategy. So just being really clear on what your end goal is, what your perfect day or week looks like in your business, because you want to build your business around that, rather than what I did was just sort of get to another stage and go, well, I think I should hire staff now, and whoops, maybe we need an office, and sort of just was very reactionary, and there wasn't really a big overarching plan around what I wanted the business to look like. So I'd be really, really clear on that, whether you want that laptop lifestyle business or whether you want a big office with a big team and, scaling to the moon and back. So that's the very first thing I would sort of be really clear on, because that will dictate which direction you want to go in. The second thing I would do is I would white label other people's products. So I would buy ready-made goods and stick my own label on it. And this idea and the reasoning behind this is, for me, I'm not a fashion designer, and that's where I really struggled, was coming up with new styles and new designs and things like that. And I spent so much money on hiring designers to try and do it for me, and people to do tech packs, and to really get these products right. It was like agonizing over every fine detail, and ultimately I don't think you need to do that. Now, in Sydney last week there was a global sourcing fair and a Chinese sourcing fair. It was all under the one roof. It was very much the same. And this particular trade show, I walked through there, and by the time I left I was like, oh my gosh, like you could start a business by just working with one of those manufacturers or one of those factories that was there. And to give you an idea, one I met in particular was a manufacturer from India, and they had the most beautiful resort wear just hanging on a rack. And I said to him, what is this, do you do white labeling? And he said, yes, we do. And then if you buy it, we don't sell these styles to anybody else in your country. So they're yours and yours only. I was like, wow, this is beautiful. Like, there was products that I could have just picked 6 or 7 off the shelf, and they were a collection on their own, and the prices were really reasonable for a beautiful cotton maxi dress. I think it was around $30 Australian if you were to order, say, 30 or 50 of them, and all you have to do is put your label in it, and there you go. So I would keep that product development, that product sourcing piece really, really easy. And I would find ready-made products where I can, or white label products, and do it that way. I don't mean reselling other brands, because just often there's just not enough profit margin in doing that. But I would look at white labeling. So finding a manufacturer, which is basically a factory in whichever country you wish to go to, that has ready-made garments that you can buy, and they customize with your neck label in it. And sometimes you can even modify the design, change the colors, change the fabrics and things like that. So I would find someone like that can both give you and sell you ready-made products, but if you want to customize, if you do eventually want to go down the road of designing your own products, that they can help you do that. So I would be looking at white labeling, because the money and the agony that I spent over like trying to perfect these products, when often, you know, the thing is, we think we know what the customer might want, but the thing is, we don't really know until we start selling it, and then they give us feedback. So I would suggest doing something like that. Don't agonize over the product. The hardest part is actually selling the product, and we can style our products in photos and videos and reels and on socials and in all of our marketing to make it look even better than it might necessarily be. I'm not saying cut corners when it comes to quality, but I'm saying don't agonize over, you know, should I add an extra 5 centimeters here, or should the zipper look different, or whatever it might be, right? So I would go down the easy road of buying things off the shelf, and that's what I would sell through a white labeling manufacturer. The third thing I would do is, when I'm going to set my prices, now I found my manufacturer and my products, I would build in Facebook ads into the profit, or into the price. So what do I mean by that? Now I know what I know about an e-commerce business. More often than not, you are really going to be relying on paid ads to drive traffic and conversions on your website. And I know for, say, a $150 ladies dress, you would probably spend between $30 and $50 on ads to get a sale for that $150 product. I know it sounds like a lot for people that maybe haven't run ads before, but you know, realistically, that's what it looks like. More often than not, it's probably almost like $50. So it's about 1/3 of that retail cost. You would sort of want to be considering having enough margin to allocate to paid ads. Now, obviously, there's lots of different nuances and whatnot with ads. Maybe you're running ads way more successfully. Maybe you've got incredible ad creatives and they're converting much better than that. Awesome. That's just extra profit in your pocket. But when I would be building out my product range and setting those prices, I would be making sure that there was an allowance for paid advertising within each unit. Okay. The fourth thing I would do is do third-party fulfillment from very early on in the piece. Now, third-party fulfillment is where you send all of your products off to a warehouse that is equipped and plugged into your Shopify to pick and pack your orders for you. Now, this might cost you about $5, maybe up to $7 or $8 per order to pack. So again, you'd want to build that into your price of your products. But 3PL is a game changer. I can't tell you how many times both myself and many of my clients have the problem of like, what happens when I go on holidays? What happens when I can't pick and pack the orders? What do I do then? And I remember calling in friends when I've been on holidays and like having to FaceTime them and say, right, it's not that one, it's that one up on the other shelf. Yeah, that's it. And then, you know, it was just a nightmare. And so not only is it really quite restrictive if you're picking and packing the orders yourself, it's also kind of stressful having all of that inventory sitting in your house or your garage somewhere. You have to walk past it constantly. If sales are slower than what you want them to be, it's almost a kind of negative reminder about, you know, how long they've been sitting there. I know it mentally weighs down on a lot of people having like it in their house and seeing it. So, looping back to my very first point around, for me, it would all be about having that laptop lifestyle, and 3PL is an absolute necessity for that. It means that I can be selling products online from anywhere in the world and know that someone else is picking and packing and shipping those orders out to customers. So 3PL, definitely 3PL over hiring a commercial space, an office or warehouse or anything like that, because then you have the cost of the rent, the insurance and all of your products inside of that. You've got your electricity, all those kind of things. Then you need staff still to go drive there and pick and pack the orders, right? So it's 3PL is much, much cheaper than hiring a warehouse or an office. The fifth thing I do differently is that I would run the team quite lean, but I'd also run mostly via VAs and contractors. I would only outsource the things that I loathed, like perhaps creating email marketing campaigns, the design of them, maybe creating reels or posting on social media or something like that. But I wouldn't go hiring staff on the books until I really, really had to. Now, on the face value, hiring staff, casual staff, permanent part-time or full-time staff doesn't seem that expensive. It comes with a whole lot of stress and unseen expenses attached. So obviously, there's their wage, but then and I'm talking in Australia here, then you have to pay on top of that 10% superannuation. Then you had to have like work cover insurance and so on and so on and so on it goes. And what happens if those staff, even if they're casual staff and they're doing, say, the same set hours every week, they're considered permanent part-time. And if your business, for whatever reason, doesn't need them anymore, it's very hard legally to let them go. I had to go through a process of making people redundant, which was a nightmare. It was so stressful for me because I loved my staff so much. But when I was exiting and selling the business, I had to let them go and I had to get legal advice on how to do it. And I'm, even if this person's casual, the advice is that, well, if they're doing the same regular hours and same regular days, under the Australian law, it's considered that they are permanent part-time. So you had to go through this sort of redundancy process, which is a series of 3 meetings where they're allowed to bring support people, and you have to first of all let them know that they're at risk of being made redundant, and then you have to go and see if you can place them somewhere else in the business. And then the third meeting is like, I'm really sorry, but there's nothing else. It was horrible. It was horribly stressful. When the time comes, if you don't need them anymore, or if they're not working out, to let them go legally, but also all those added costs. So I would be using contractors where needed for as long as humanly possible. All right, I'm going back to my notes here because, like I said, I've got quite a lot to say on this matter. What else would I do differently if I was to start an e-com fashion business today? This particular tip is for any business owner. Put your tax aside weekly or monthly, especially if you are like me, where if there is money in the account, you spend it. I am not a great saver. I wish I could say that was different, but if there's money in the account, I think, great, I can go and update my website, or I'll go and do a logo. I'm going to book that business trip. And this was a tricky one for me, particularly as the business scales, and those tax bills are hefty. In Australia, you have things, not only income tax, but you also have the GST, the BAS. If you have staff, you also collecting and then have to pay the tax from their wages, and so on and so on and so on. So make sure you're putting that aside. Set up some sort of system. If you're collecting 10% sales tax, whether it's in Australia or somewhere else, at the end of the week, look at how much you've collected and instantly transfer it to somewhere where you can't see it if you're a spender and not a good saver like me, because there is nothing worse than an unexpected tax bill landing in your account for anywhere, and I've had them all, $30,000, $40,000, $120,000. So put that tax aside and trust me, you'll sleep better at night. The next thing I do is that I'd invest in a great Shopify theme out of the box, and I would find a reasonable freelance designer to help me build it. I would not go down the expensive road of finding an agency where they might turn around and say, oh, it's only like $20,000 or $15,000. No, you can buy an awesome theme for about $500 and then you could have someone come in, like my Shopify developer Sagar, and it might be a couple of $1,000s for him to then customize it and do it for you. Then you also have that ongoing relationship with that developer that can help you make tweaks and things like that. I, with my first business, went all in because I didn't know any better and hired an agency, and it cost me a bomb. I think I paid about $15,000 for them to build my website because that's what I thought it cost. It was just a Shopify website. It wasn't anything extraordinary. And then 12 months, 18 months into business, I realized that website didn't look, feel, or do what I wanted it to do, and then had to rebuild it. So while you want to invest, and again, I say Shopify definitely over anything else that's out there on the market because it's the easiest and the gold standard for e-commerce, but start out with something nice. You don't have to go all in. A few $1,000s should get you a beautiful website if you find the right developer to help you do it. Because think about your website, that is your shop front. You wouldn't go and rent a horrible looking boutique in the back streets of your local town and expect that people were going to find it enticing and attractive to walk through the door. No, you need to have nice signage and make it feel easy to walk into and easy to navigate and all those kind of things. So making sure that you've got a beautiful website, a website that sells, is definitely recommended, but not going down the agency road of spending a gazillion dollars, because you will find every couple of years you will want to update that website and you don't want to be paying that regularly. The 8th thing I'd do is I'd invest in branding help. Now, again, you don't have to go with an expensive agency like I did. I have recently rebranded twice for my coaching business, and both times it's cost me $1,200 exactly, right? And for $1,200 Australian, this is a proper branding graphic design person, got beautiful new logos, fonts, color schemes, a brand template guideline, variations of my logos, and even a few social media templates and things like that set up as well. So you can do it quite cheaply, but I don't recommend trying to build all of that out yourself in Canva, unless of course you're a graphic designer, because you will lose weeks and weeks and weeks of your life doing that, trying to do it yourself, when for $1,200 you can have it done beautifully and you'll get this sort of brand document that you can then share with anyone else that you may later involve in your business. Number 9, I would spend a lot more time working on my marketing messaging for all of my marketing and even the branding message. I'd be spending much more time there than I would say on the product development, agonizing over which buttons should I put on and how far should I space them out. No, it's the marketing message and the brand messaging is really, really important, because that's what you're going to be saying over and over and over again. And it's really crucial in helping get those potential customers to feel like that they know, like, and trust you, and feel like that you and your products are for them. So working on your marketing messaging, and even if that means you come up with some of these ideas yourself and then maybe having to enlist the help of a copywriter to tighten it up, will serve you very, very well. Number 10, I'd be very scrappy with photo shoots, because when I first started out, was like, you know what, I just have to hire the most expensive fashion photographer I can, because they will be the best and that will help sell the products. And no, it will not. It's all about capturing your products in a great way, but you don't need to have a $10,000 photo shoot to do that. I used to use freelancer photographers that were wedding photographers, surf photographers, and everything in between to help, save costs. And they would produce beautiful looking photos and imagery as well. So I'd be quite scrappy with photo shoots, and I never bothered with, I did in the end, stylists, because it's just as expensive as the photographers were. And often they'd sit on their phone the whole time, not being particularly helpful. I wouldn't do hair and makeup either. I'd pay the model extra to come with their hair and makeup done, and just keep it scrappy and as possible, and save your dollars there. The next thing that I would do is just pick 2 social media channels only. In my case, Instagram and Facebook. I wouldn't feel the need to be everywhere on Pinterest and Twitter and wherever else, right? TikTok. Figure out where your customer is spending time And, if that's Facebook and Instagram, just go all in there and don't worry about trying to be across all of the other places. So just picking 2 social medias to do and do well versus trying to spread yourself thin across all of the different platforms, because every different platform really has a different type of content style. So you would be creating different content for, say, TikTok than what you would for Facebook and Instagram. The next thing I would do, number 12, is I'd learn Facebook ads from the very get-go, and I'd be running them probably from the very first week of launching, because if you're listening here now and you've recently launched, you're probably wondering where all your website visitors and customers are, and it's probably because you're getting really, really low amounts and volumes of daily traffic. So learning how to do the ads yourself, first and foremost, because you'll save yourself thousands of dollars every month. But second of all, because then you'll be driving people to your site, and a lot of people to your site from day one, and giving yourself the best chance of success. All right, number 13, I would be building my audience and email list even before I launch. So if you knew that this launch is coming, I would have a landing page where people would be able to go in and sign up for an email and be the first to know when your store is open, and also offer them some sort of incentive, whether it's free shipping or $10 off or 10% off. Because having an existing audience and list to launch to will, again, help you have the best chance of success from day one. There's nothing worse than pressing publish on your website and no one comes for a very long time. So having an existing audience on, say, for example, Instagram and Facebook, so you could start building up followers and start posting teasers of what's to come, of your products and things like that, trying to get people to follow and engage with you there, and then also encouraging them to come over to your landing page and signing up to be the first to know, means that when you do press publish, you can then let everyone know, hey, we're open for business, come on over, use that special code we gave you, and hopefully get some sales on day one. So building an audience so that you've got existing people to launch to, I would work a lot on doing that. Again, rather than more so than agonizing over where to place buttons and how many pockets there should be. Number 14, I would make sure that from day one that you have email automated flows set up. So you would have a welcome series. So if someone signs up to your email list, they get a number of emails saying, welcome, thank you so much, and obviously delivering any sort of incentive or discount code that you may have given them. And then I'd also make sure that you've got an abandoned cart flow set up. And when I say a flow, I don't mean one email, I mean a number of emails, right? So you'll want to at least have those 2 set up from day one, because those people that you've built up in your audience and got on your list, or they're coming via ads, you want to make sure that if they do land and do sign up to your email inbox newsletters, that they will start receiving things straight away. Number 15, I would not bother with expensive packaging. I have done it all. I used to do those calico bags with the pull strings and put the garments inside of those, but I'd also wrap them in tissue and have stickers and thank you cards and all that sort of stuff. I would not bother with calico bags. I don't know about you, but I have that many of those bags, and sometimes they're really weird shapes. Like, they're not helpful for anything. They often end up in landfill. Not only that, they cost you $2, $3, who knows, $5 a piece. It's just not really adding that much value for your customers. I wouldn't bother with those. I also wouldn't bother with things like boxes. I used to do boxes, and not only were they a pain in the neck, and I had to reel in my dad to help me build them because they all came flat. You had to actually build the boxes. The customers would then message and say, oh, thanks so much for that box. It's a shame it was crushed to an inch of its life when the thing actually arrived. Again, they were like $2 a piece, and they were like an absolute ton to ship. I think I had them made in Indonesia. Like, I wouldn't bother. I would keep the packaging sort of bare minimum, but I would definitely include a thank you postcard. I received something recently where it was just in its sort of poly bag and there was no sort of thank you card. That's a missed opportunity. Those thank you cards, they're for quite cheap. You can print them on wherever, Canva, Vistaprint. But that's a great opportunity to thank your customer and also say, hey, here's a discount off your next order. Also, come follow us on socials, or would you like to leave us a review? So Those postcards are definitely worth it, and they might only cost you 20 cents, but and you don't have to hand write them or anything like that. Just something, a nice thank you message with an incentive to come back and buy is really important. But don't waste your money on bags and boxes and all those kind of things, especially if you're going to be using third-party fulfillment. For every single extra step involved, that third-party fulfillment company will charge you more. All right, so that's 15 things so far. Let's keep going. There's only a few more. Number 16, I would find a business coach that has done it before and was a specialist in fashion e-commerce in this case. I worked with lots of different coaches in the beginning. I don't even know if there was one that existed that was specific to fashion e-commerce. I worked with digital marketing coaches. I worked with coaches who were coaching other coaches and that were helping me, with just digital marketing things. But I would find a coach that's done it before and done exactly what it is that you want to do before, so that they can help you get there quicker and also avoid any of the costly mistakes that unfortunately most people fall into, especially if they're doing it sort of on their own and learning as they go. So they will definitely help fast track your success. And obviously, if you want to start a fashion e-commerce, that's exactly what I do. So reach out. Let's have a chat. Number 17, I would definitely prioritize whether it's for me or whether it was a contractor doing customer service. That customer service excellence is so important. If anything, we want to over communicate with them. If it's things around pre-orders and stuff like that, we want to make sure that they're happy, because happy customers tell their friends and then also come back again. We used to have a policy, I guess, in Island Co, where if all else fails, just refund them. Just give them the money back. Even if they just keep the piece, just give them the money back. Like, it just wasn't worth it. It was only very rarely that we would say no. And that would because there would be some sort of, extreme circumstances that the customer was just taking the mickey. For example, like they put something on, they forced on a jumpsuit, a linen jumpsuit that was about, I don't know, must have been about 4 sizes too small, but forced themselves into it to the point where they had to then get scissors to cut themselves out and then send it back to us demanding a refund because it was faulty. So things like that, we were like, so sorry. No, but in other cases, we would just sort of go, okay, especially if the customer was nice, like just give them their money back. Tell them if they don't like the thing to donate it to charity or friend. So just keeping those customers happy, and in weird situations like delays, if they've pre-ordered something, over communicate with them, right? Constantly emailing them once a week, just updating them. Hey, we haven't forgot about you. It's coming. You're going to absolutely love it. Thank you so much for your patience. But also thinking from a customer's point of view, because the pre-orders I see a lot, right? That's where things can kind of go horribly wrong. If customers are really, really, really unhappy, they take it to, socials and will slash you everywhere. So in those cases, I'd be just like, I'm so sorry. Would you like a refund? And just move on. So the next thing I definitely recommend for anyone in business, in any part or stage of your business, is treat your business as if it's a 9-to-5 job. We don't start our businesses to work 24/7. It's not what we do. We generally start our businesses for that freedom and flexibility. So it's really important that we don't then work ourselves to the grave, living to run this business. We need to have clear boundaries around what this is exactly. The business is a job ultimately, or often just creating ourselves a job in the beginning and then building it up to become an asset that we hopefully can then sell later. So what this would look like is making sure that you have boundaries. You don't check emails on the weekend. You don't reply to DMs on Instagram or anything like that. You would handle this by having automated replies, whether it's email or on social, saying, hey, thanks for your message. We'll get back to you first thing Monday when we're back in the office. Enjoy your weekend. Do not work or reply to customers on the weekend. What you find is once you do it once, that customer will keep replying, and then next thing you know, you've been chatting with them all weekend and your family's like, get off the phone. So don't do that. Number 19, put money aside for product development or for future reorders. Again, this is me being a bit of a spender. If there's money in the account, I seem to have like be really short-sighted as far as like, there's like a 50 grand manufacturing bill coming up. I recommend going and reading a book. I'm sure you've probably heard of it, Profit First. There is an e-commerce version of this. Go and look at that one in particular because it talks about, obviously having the cost of products involved, but putting money aside, having a number of different accounts. So you've got your tax account, you've got your product account, maybe you've got a marketing account, and making sure that you are saving for that, because there's nothing worse than all of a sudden you've sold out of all of your beautiful products and then you have to reorder and they're like, no problem, here's a $30,000 bill you need to pay before we start. And if you haven't been putting that money aside, it can really definitely hamper your business's growth. Number 20, pay yourself a wage from the very get-go. Once there's sales coming in, pay yourself a wage. Now, this might just be a symbolic token amount. Maybe it's $50 a week. Maybe it's $100 a week. But paying yourself an amount will help in the long run. If you feel like, 6-12 months in, you're like, where's the money? I'm working for free. At least if you've been paying yourself a little bit of pocket money even, you won't feel quite as resentful to the business, and neither will your partner if they're like, where's, what's going on? Not only do we have all these expenses of a business, but now you're not even earning a wage. So pull some sort of a money aside. Like I said, if it's $50 a week, if it's $100 a week, and then as your sales grow, increase that. There's a couple of different ways you can do this too, and have a chat with your accountant for sure. But what I want you to do is keep a tally and receipts for all of the money you've personally invested into the business, because later, once you are making profits and making money, you should be able to repay yourself that money, hopefully without sort of paying tax on it, right? So I know I generally always have some sort of director's loan. I operate under a company, which I highly recommend you do as well if you're planning on scaling your business. But I operate under a company, and there's a director's loan, which is that I've put in X amount of money to the business. And so if there's money in the bank account, I can repay myself some of that money, which then comes off my director's loan. So have a chat with your accountant about that, because that's one way you can do it. Otherwise, you would be paying yourself as an employee of the business, which I'm also set up as an employee of my company. But when you then pay yourself as an employee, you obviously have to pay tax, and you obviously have to pay superannuation in Australia, and then you would be issuing yourself a payslip. So have a chat with your accountant what the best way is for your business and your structure, but making sure that you have a plan to start paying yourself early on, even if it's a small amount, a token amount, which is symbolic to I deserve to be paid, and then you will continue to increase that as the business goes. My next point was talking about a company structure. I highly recommend it, especially if you're in your business that you're going to ever go for like lines of credit or things like that. Having a company structure protects you personally, if you have a home or other assets and things like that. If the worst happens in your business, and this does happen, that you have this company structure which can protect your personal assets. So again, have a conversation with your accountant about that. Setting up a company is more expensive than just registering a business name, but look at it like an insurance policy. Down the track, you'll be protected. All right, 2 more points. Thank you for sticking with me. I hope these are helpful. Number 22, find a great accountant, and particularly a great accountant that believes in you, because accountants can be naysayers, dare I say, where they're like, where's all the money going? Oh, you're spending a lot of money on Facebook ads. Finding an accountant, ideally, that understands e-commerce and what those percentages of, overall revenue that you spend on marketing might look like is highly recommended, and one that believes in you and that encourages you. I've had a great accountant for many, many years. We have regular almost coaching calls where I'll sort of say to him, hey, what do you think I should do? And we do tax planning and all this sort of stuff, and help me decipher profit and loss statements and things like that. So finding a great accountant that believes in you is very worthwhile. Now, obviously these can be really expensive. Mine's only a few $100s a month, and that's kind of all we need. I now have learnt how to do my own bookkeeping in Xero, but this accountant helped set it up and sort of taught me how to use it. So I save on bookkeeping fees. But back when I had my fashion business, I was probably paying about $700 a month. But again, as your accountant, you really need a good accountant to help you, plan for tax and things like that. And number 23, my final thing, which is applicable to those in Australia, I would hold off registering for BAS or GST as long as humanly possible until your accountant It's like, you must do this. I know that's over 75K, but I think there's a little bit of a little bit of wiggle room. But the reason I say hold off is for a couple of reasons. If you are registered for GST, it's probably going to increase your accounting bill. It's also going to increase your admin. You also then you basically lose 10% off every Australian sale that you make. And 9 times out of 10 for e-commerce business owners that I know of, most of our expenses are overseas. They're either overseas subscriptions to Shopify or Facebook ads or overseas manufacturers, which we don't pay any GST on, so we can't claim it back. We don't have much to claim back. So it just becomes, you're just basically holding off becoming a tax collector for the ATO as long as possible, and obviously under your accountant's guidance, because I'm not a financial advisor. I cannot give you financial advice, but I'm encouraging you to have a conversation with your accountant about it and holding off. I know a lot of some people are under the idea of, no, but you just claim back your GST. But if you're buying products from China, if you're, like I said, using all of these US-based software subscriptions, you're not actually paying any GST to claim back. So that is it in a nutshell. 23 steps, things I'd do if I was to set up an online fashion business today, and what I do differently from last time. I hope this was helpful. If you would like my help in either starting and scaling your online store or scaling an existing one, be sure to go to jodiminto.com and check out my programs. I have Online Store Success, which is my 12-week coaching program that couples curriculum, community, and coaching. And that's all about getting your online store to $100,000 a year in revenue. Once you've hit $100,000 of revenue, come check out my mastermind, which is called the 7-Figure Scale Collective, because from there, we look at scaling your sales to 7 figures. I hope this was helpful. Have an awesome week, and I will chat with you again very soon. Bye for now.